Hello and welcome to my first cookie decorating video. For those of you who purchased the Mickey Halloween set, in your box you should have icing pods, gray, green, black. You should have a white bag with a purple mark on it because that's a thicker consistency. And you should also have a bag of white flood. You should have a little bag full of eyes, 2 dowel rods. I'll show you what you're going to use those for. And you should have 12 Mickey cookies in your box. Additionally, you should have an instruction sheet and an extra piping bag just in case you didn't read the directions first and you went ahead and moved forward. So let's jump right into this, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and unstack my little cookies here. And this is my first video, so do not judge me too harshly, guys. I'm going to do one of each design. So for starters, if your icing has separated, in your instruction manual or book, it tells you to massage the bag or knead the bag, which is just doing this. And I just realized my hands are ashy, but I've washed them 100 times today. So anyway, you're just going to, like, see my green here separated just a little. Maybe you can't see that, but you're just going to knead the bag. They should be loose enough for you to knead. And you're just going to kind of mix that icing in. I do not know the science behind it or why it does that. I just know that it does, and this is what I do. So I'm going to knead all of my bags, and you should do the same. If you have not cut your bags, get your scissors ready. I don't want you to cut your bag just yet because I want to show you where to cut them. If your bag is loose on the end like this one, just kind of twist it. And if you can, grab some sort of a chip clip and just kind of hold it so that your icing doesn't spill out on the other end. So on each of your bags, there is a seam. Not sure how well you can see that. It's right here. I want you to take your bag and kind of pull that icing down to the edge. And then I want you to just barely snip the tip. And I'm going to do that on each of my bags. Like, see, I just cut just a little. Oops, there it is. Because you can always make your hole bigger. You cannot make your hole smaller. So on all of these, I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm just going to snip my tips. I know that that just does not sound so good, but that's what we're doing. We're snipping tips on the seam. There we go. There's that seam. I am going to start first with the mummy. I'm starting with the mummy first because it needs to sit the longest, and I'll explain to you why. You know, the mummy has, what do you call it, wrapping or a gauzed sort of look. I'm going to make that hole on the black just a little bit bigger because I need a little bit more of that. So it has a gauzed look, and in order to get that effect, the base of the icing needs to be dry. So on your thicker icing, so that your gauze is kind of a flat look, you can cut this one just a smidgen higher. We'll save that for last. How about that? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Oh, I said I was starting with the mummy first. So this one's a little broken. I am not using gloves because these cookies are stale and old and no one is going to eat these. If you find that your hole is small, you can always make it bigger. Remember, you can't make it smaller. So let's roll. So you're going to just squeeze a little. Can you see that? And let's just squeeze and hold your bag up and see how fluid this icing is. And see, Miss Z just made a little boo-boo. And you're going to go around the cookie, following the outline, squeezing the bag so that your icing comes out. I'm really bummed that my music wouldn't play while I'm doing this video. So I hope I'm not breathing too hard because I'm really tired. And notice how my hand goes all the way around. So there you go. Now you're going to squeeze your little heart out. If you find that your hole is too small and you feel like you're squeezing too hard, that is possible. It is humanly possible. So what you can do is outline all of your cookies first. That'll help you build a little well. That's a little too tight for me, so I am going to cut just a little bit more of that tip off. Not too much. I don't want my hole too big. So now I'm just going to squeeze and I'm going to fill this cookie in. So what are those dowel rods for? Well, they're actually apple sticks, but I couldn't give you the sticks that I use because, well, they're too expensive. So we're going to use those to kind of move our icing around. You want to fill the cookie in as much as possible. You should have at least 4 to 5 ounces of icing in those bags, so it should be enough to do all 3. Remember, you're only doing 3 of each shape, so you should have more than enough icing. It does take a little time to fill because the hole is small. Again, if you would like to outline all of your mummy cookies first, then do that. So I'm going to leave this like this and show you what we use these dowels for. This is to help you move the icing to the edge. If you are dragging your icing and it looks thin, chances are you need to add more. So see how this is like pulling, but it's not really filling. So just take your icing bag and add a little bit more. You shouldn't have to stretch your icing across the cookie. You should have enough to go all the way around. I try not to go to the edge when I do this because I'm human. I go over and then I have to fix that. So you're just going to use your rod and you're going to kind of just make circles and go around toward the edge and fill those cookies in. So your mummy, as you can see how quick this goes. Well, yeah, I've been doing it a while, so it's going a little bit faster for me. Oops, air bubble. You can pop those too. I'm just going to add a little bit more because that looks like it's a little bit thin on there. So, and then you're going to use your rod, your little dowel, your little boo-boo stick, and you're just going to move your icing to the edge of the cookie, and you are going to let your mummy sit. If you have air bubbles like I see here, it's probably because you don't have enough icing or because your icing has a few bubbles in it, which is, you know, that happens sometimes. So we're going to move this guy over because I want him to sit before I drop his eyes. I want him to kind of rest and I want him to set just a little bit. So I also use a wet paper towel, guys, to kind of wipe my rod off, my little stick. So I'm gonna try to keep those in view for you. So the next one that we are going to do is, let's go ahead and do one with ears. So if you are sharing icing bags between your family, which is fine, someone can be working on the mummy while someone else is working on the top of their ears. Remember, Mickey has a little bit of an arch. If you can make that arch, awesome. If not, it is okay. They're cookies. We're going to eat them. But you can put a little dot there and a little dot there to let yourself know where you're going from side to side. And you want to do the same thing. You just kind of want to squeeze. You want to squeeze and make a little arch and come across. Ms. Z made another mistake. It's okay. No one's eating these. To that little dot. You see that little arch there? Black is extremely unforgiving, but I am going to use one of my regular sticks and wipe that off. Maybe I saved the day, maybe I didn't. And you're going to just kind of come around Mickey's little ear as best you can. And you're going to go all the way around, same thing. And follow the little arch above his head. It's okay if you have exposed cookie. It does not have to go all the way to the edge where it's going over. These are going to be perfectly imperfect to show you that sometimes I make mistakes too. See that little curve? I'm not going to fix that. So you're going to, again, fill your cookie in, fill in the top. I'm squeezing. This is a little more thinner than my white. So I just put just enough icing, right? And I'm going to take my little stick and I'm going to move that icing around to fill in Mr. Mouse. And see how easy that is? Like, you shouldn't be dragging. Your icing should just easily go where you want it to. You are welcome to fill in a lot more. Just be careful because it is the consistency of, let's go with syrup, which means it will spill. So this ear doesn't seem to have just enough. I'm going to give it just a little bit more. So I am going to do this ear. And there we go. Try to make sure you get it all in. So see, your Mickey is already coming alive. I'm going to take my little wet paper towel and wipe my rod off. I'm going to save this one because we'll use that for the spider. So we're going to let this sit for just a little bit. We're going to move that one over. I'm going to move my eyes. And you kind of want these to sit for just a little bit so that your colors don't bleed, okay? Let's move that over. Sorry, I'm saying so much. So same thing with the ear here. We're going to come from the side, make a little arch if you can. If not, it's okay to have a straight line. And you're gonna just follow that ear around. And I always hold my wrist. I am not really sure why I hold my wrist. Maybe to help it stay steady, but see how I am not all the way at the edge, and that is okay. It is okay to have perfectly imperfect cookies, because guess what? Somebody's gonna eat them anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this in. See, I'm squeezing a lot of icing. Don't be afraid to use it, but also remember that you have other cookies, so you don't wanna use it all on one. When you're moving this icing, even though you didn't go to the edge, see my stick? I can take that and move that icing to the edge if I need to. But kind of giving it that border keeps my icing from going off the side. I gave you one consistency icing because you don't have icing tips to have given you, more than one, so that you can do a thicker outline and let it sit for a little bit. So one consistency works best, and I am using tipless bags by my good friend Kristen at Grunderfully Delicious. These rods, see, I don't have enough icing there, I can tell because it's doing that. These rods are from Michael's. I'm giving everybody a shout out. I am using AmeriColor gels and CNH powdered sugar and a little bit of meringue to make that. So if your cookie is a little lumpy, you can tap it or shake it just a little, especially if your icing has gotten a little bit thick. So I'm gonna let those two sit. Let's move this over. My workspace is kind of small here. So those two are gonna sit because this is your Frankenstein and this is your Dracula. This is your mummy, and I bumped that one. So if you do that, you can just kind of take your finger and fix it up a little bit. So I wanted that to sit because if you drop your eyes on immediately after you put the icing on the cookie, they kind of sink, which is fine. But I wanted it to sit because I want you to take the green and give it just a little squeeze, give it like a little circle where that eye is gonna go, because I want it to kind of sit up just a little. Now that's not quite level, but that's what we're doing, okay? And you're gonna just drop your eye on the green. And trust me when I tell you, it gives it a really nice effect. Just try not to hit the icing if you can, like I just did. So there you go. Your mummy is already coming to life. We're letting those sit so they can crust just a tad. You want to, in real time, maybe give it 10 minutes if you have 10 minutes. If not, just move on to the next cookie and then come back to it. So your spider, which is your fourth cookie, let me move that in. You're gonna, if you've already done all of your mummies, you wanna do your spider this way. You're gonna do the same thing. If you need to widen that hole, just be careful that you don't make it too big. You're gonna come around the edge of your cookie and you're gonna follow Mickey's head and just go all the way around. And there you go. I am gonna make this hole a little bit bigger because, well, it's my last cookie with this. But be careful when you do that because again, you can make it bigger, you can't make it smaller. So we wanna go ahead and fill in this whole cookie. Just like you did the mummy, you should have more than enough white icing to do 6 cookies. If you run out, call me. If you're close, I'll bring it. If not, you gotta come get it. But seriously, you should have enough to do that. As you can see, I'm about to break my bag. You don't wanna squeeze so hard that you burst it. So I'm gonna make my hole a little bit bigger. If your bag looks like it's gonna blow like this one does, yeah, widen your hole just a little because it means you're giving it too much pressure. And yes, I have done cookies where I see my bag having a little bit too much pressure and I'm like, I can handle it. And the bag gives way on the cookie. And because I think I'm perfect, I've only made just enough for the set. And guess who has to go back to scratch? So because this is gonna be my spider, I don't wanna use that one with the black because I do not want the black in my cookie until I'm ready for it. So I'm gonna move this icing all the way around and fill it in like I showed you. Okay. And this is gonna be the wet on wet technique. So you are then immediately, what is immediately? Right away, gonna take your black, and you can also, if it gets a little crusty, take your paper towel and just wipe your tip a little bit. And you are going to make an X through your cookie. You're gonna just squeeze a little. This is why you want your hole small, because you're gonna use this for everything. And you're gonna, come this way, X, there you go. And then you're gonna make some circles. Come on, Mickey. Circles as best you can, okay? Again, perfectly imperfect. We're all gonna eat these. You're gonna make about 2 or 3 circles. If you can. See, my circles are not perfect, but it's okay. No one's paying for these. And I'm gonna squeeze just a little bit more in the middle, and you'll see why. Then I am going to take, I forgot. We're gonna do this because we want to give it a webbed look, right? That's not quite how I wanted that web to look, but that's what we're gonna do today. Probably because I should have designed this set before the video, and I didn't. So, oops, glad that didn't hit my cookie. So then you're gonna take your dowel rod and you're gonna start at the center. You're gonna drag lightly. You're not gonna dig through the cookie. You're gonna just drag lightly. See how it's making that web? Ooh, there we go. Just lightly. I'm barely on the top of the icing. Barely on the top. You're not dragging to the base of the cookie. You're literally only dragging the top of the icing to give it that webbed look. And then I want to come in here and maybe come up a little. See, there's my spider web. And you can make as many of these as you want because they're yours. And just because I'm doing this one this way doesn't mean that you have to. So this is my goofy looking spider web Mickey cookie. Now I'm gonna let him sit because I'm gonna show you how you can use that same icing and make a spider. So I'm gonna come back. I did this one first. Careful when you pick them up so that you don't smudge. I'm gonna come right here and I'm gonna take my green, because remember I'm doing, what's his name? Frankenstein, right. Okay, so we're gonna just come to the bottom half of this cookie and gonna fill it in. Now I'm not gonna use the stick that I used for the black because remember, black is unforgiving and I don't want it in my green. And I'm just gonna take my green and move it around. And see how now my black is not bleeding into my green because it's had just a little moment to set. And you can see your cookies coming alive, can't you? I see it coming alive. So let's move that guy over. And then this guy is gonna be gray on the bottom because he is Count Dracula. And we're gonna just go same thing around this cookie up to the top. And I'm just gonna put some icing there in the middle, but I'm gonna be generous because remember, I don't wanna drag. And I'm gonna use my paper towel and wipe. It gets ugly after a while, but it's just water. And then I'm gonna move my icing. See how I'm moving that? And your icing should go where you tell it to. You shouldn't have to force it. If you're forcing it, add a little bit more, okay? So there we go. Now my mummy, I don't know that it's had enough time to crust, but we're gonna try it. Okay. Oops, see, careful. Did you see that? I just stuck my finger in that cookie. But because it's super wet, I can just move that over. There we go. If your cookie has already crusted, it will leave a little dent. Don't cry, you're gonna eat it. Worst things are gonna happen when it's in your mouth. So this is our thick icing, which is the bag with the purple mark on it. I want you to flatten that, flat, 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 on that seam, flat, 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 flat. And I want you to cut just a little bit higher because you wanna give it that gauze look. I'm not gonna cut that right there because I do not, can you see where I'm cutting? Don't want it to fall on my wet cookie, so I'm gonna move it over just a little. And I'm gonna leave that flat. I want that flat, flat, flat. And I'm just gonna come across this cookie, and you can put your gauze marks anywhere you want them. I have a thing for X's today, so that's what I'm doing. Uh-oh, if it breaks, just kind of start where you were. And remember, mummies, they're just, you know, oopsie, I touched. You know how they have stuff everywhere. You know, the gauze. If you get it on the side, just take your little stick, snip it off. See how easy that was? And you just make your mummy wrap however you want your mummy to be wrapped. Okay? Whatever floats the boat. These are your cookies. It's your design. It's your masterpiece. And when you post these, make sure you tag me because I want to see all your fabulousness. And there you go. Let's give you another one there because you can never have too much icing on a cookie. So however you do your stripes is how your mummy looks. And now your mummy is complete. And from start to finish, you just decorated a cookie. I like how creepy the eyes look with the green. So now your mummies are complete. And let's move you over, guy. Let's move you over, guy. You can always, again, just take your little stick and knock it off the edge if you don't want it hanging over. Make it look a little more perfect. And yes, for those who are wondering, do the cookies she sells look better than these that she just put together in this video? They do. I want that green to sit just a little bit. So I'm gonna see if I can get a gray spider on this cookie. So I just wanna squeeze a little circle there and maybe give him some legs. How many legs does a spider have? 6, 8? I don't know. This guy's gonna have 6 because I can't count. And then I'm gonna take my black and just give him 2 little eyes. In my head, that cookie looked so much better. And if you've let that sit long enough, even though your gray is very loose, yeah, he needs another leg. I'm gonna give this guy another leg. He needs another leg. He looks a little handicapped. Let's give him a leg. Nothing against handicapped people, but my spider looks wonky. So there you have it. There's your spider web cookie. In my head, he looks so much better. So what are you doing to Frankenstein? Because I only got enough eyes to do the mummies. That was intentional because, look at me, I got icing everywhere. Because in my head, these didn't need eyes. But let's say you're insisting on your guy having eyes, no big deal. You're gonna make your eyes. Where would they go? Because that's Mickey's head. So I don't know, let's go here. You're just gonna put some white, give him a little dot, give him a little dot. And take your black, give him a little eye. See, he looks goofy, so that's why I really didn't give him any eyes. But you're gonna take that same black, because remember you cut your hole small enough. I'm gonna give my guy not quite a frowny face, but I'm gonna go squeeze, hold up, come down in the middle just a little bit, like so. Kind of like a little M. And then I'm gonna take my thick white and I'm gonna give him, because remember I cut that hole big enough, so I wanna leave it flat. If you cut it too big, sorry. And I'm just gonna give him a little fang, like so. Just kind of touch and pull. Oops, I pulled a little too much. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fix that, friends. No, so I'm just gonna make this other guy longer. Okay, and now my guy's got fangs. And from start to finish, you've just made Dracula. And what are we doing to this guy? I'm gonna leave him with no eyes because in my head, that's how I saw him. However, we all know that Frankenstein has stitches, right? So I'm gonna just take my same black and I'm gonna give him some stitches over here to the right. And I'm gonna give him some stitches here on his chin just because this guy was patched up quite a bit. Now, again, if you want them to have eyes and you only have so many for the mummy, you are more than welcome. In my head, these didn't have eyes, but you're more than welcome because you have more than enough icing to take your white and just give a little dot. And there you go. Now he has eyes. Let's go ahead and give him a mouth. Why not? He looks a little goofier to me, so this is why I didn't give him eyes. But there, start to finish, you've now decorated 4 Mickey Mouse Halloween themed cookies. Miss Z could have did better on that one, but it is what it is. Hope you had fun. Don't forget to tag me, Z Cakery. Good night.